All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever spent hours studying for a test, feeling pretty good about it, only to have all that information just vanish when you sit down to take it? If that sounds familiar, you are in the perfect place. Today, we're going to dive into the science of successful learning, based on the amazing book Make It Stick. And trust me, this could totally change the game for you.
I mean, it is the most frustrating feeling, isn't it? You put in the work, you highlight the chapters, you feel like, okay, I've got this. And then, poof, it's just gone. So why does this keep happening? Well, it turns out our own brains are kind of playing a trick on us.
And this trick has a name. The authors of the book call it the learning illusion. It's this huge, misleading gap between the feeling of learning and what's actually sticking in your brain. So let's dive in and break this whole thing down.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. We are really, really bad judges of when we're actually learning effectively. There's this massive difference between what feels productive and what actually works. This is that illusion of knowing they talk about. It's when we mistake familiarity, just seeing something over and over, with genuine mastery. They are not the same thing, not even close.
And the book has some fantastic examples of this in action. For instance, think about a penny. You've probably seen thousands, right? But if I asked you to draw one from memory right now, could you do it? Probably not. Most people can't get the details right. Or how about this one? A professor at UCLA for 25 years walked past the same fire extinguisher every single day and couldn't find it when he needed it. It's a perfect, almost scary reminder that just seeing something a lot, that repeated exposure, does not mean you've learned.
So what this all boils down to is a fancy word, metacognition. It's basically your brain's ability to know what it knows. And this whole learning illusion thing, it's really just a failure of our metacognition. It makes us way too confident. And because we're so confident, we just keep using the same old study habits that frankly don't work.
And that brings us to the #1 offender, the absolute king of ineffective study habits. Let's talk about the most common study strategy out there and why it's almost certainly wasting a ton of your precious time.
Just how common is this? Get this. Studies show that more than 80% of college students say rereading is their primary way of studying. And we've all been there, right? Highlighters out, going over the same pages again and again. It feels like the right thing to do. But the science? Well, the science tells a completely different story.
So, why is rereading so bad? Well, think of it as having 3 strikes against it. Strike 1, it takes forever. It's super time-consuming. Strike 2, it just doesn't build strong long-term memories. The stuff you learn this way fades really fast. And strike 3, and this is the big one, the really dangerous part, it creates that false sense of mastery we talked about. The words on the page start to look familiar, and your brain mistakes that familiarity for actual knowledge. It is a total trap.
Okay, so if rereading is out, what's in? What are we supposed to do instead? Well, thankfully, the book gives us a much more powerful alternative, and it's all about the power of retrieval.
The difference here is night and day. Rereading is totally passive. You're just letting the information kind of wash over your brain. But retrieval, that's active. It's the mental workout of pulling information out of your memory. And that simple switch from trying to cram info in to forcing yourself to pull it out, that is the secret sauce. That's what builds real, lasting memory and actually interrupts the process of forgetting.
And there's a scientific name for this. It's called the testing effect. This totally reframes what a test is. A test isn't just about getting a grade. It's one of the most powerful learning tools we have. Every single time you try to recall something from memory, you're actually strengthening the connections in your brain to that piece of information. It's like doing a rep at the gym for your mind.
And if you want proof, just look at this real-world study. They took an 8th grade science class. For the material they were quizzed on, where they had to practice retrieval, the students got an A average. For the material they just reread and reviewed passively, they got a C+. Think about that. That is a massive jump, and the only thing that changed was how they studied.
So how can you actually do this? It's honestly so simple. You read a page or a section of a chapter. Then you just close the book, put it away, and ask yourself, okay, what were the main points there? Try to write it down, or even just say it out loud in your own words. Then you open the book and check your work. That simple little exercise is way more powerful than rereading that same page 5 more times.
But wait, there's more. Active retrieval is huge, but it's really only half the battle. To truly make knowledge stick, it's not just what you practice, but how you practice it. And this brings us to another giant learning myth we need to bust: cramming.
So let's compare two different approaches. On one side, you've got what's called massed practice, cramming. And it feels great, right? You drill one thing over and over and you see improvement fast. But on the other side, you have two much better strategies. Spaced practice, spreading your learning out over a few days, and interleaved practice, mixing up different types of problems or topics. Now, these methods feel slower, they feel harder, but all the evidence shows they are the absolute key to remembering things for the long haul.
And the data on this is it's stunning. Look at the study on learning geometry. The group that crammed, just doing one type of problem at a time, scored a measly 20% on the final test. But the group that mixed it all up, the interleaf group, they scored a 63%. That is a more than 200% improvement just by changing the way they practiced. Incredible.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What's the common thread that connects retrieval and spacing your practice and mixing things up? They all point to one really big and kind of counterintuitive idea about how our brains actually learn best.
So often, we think that if learning feels hard, we must be doing it wrong, that if we're struggling, we're just not smart enough. But the science shows the complete opposite is true. That feeling of effort, that struggle, that is the sign that you're actually learning. That's your brain building stronger, more durable connections. Effort isn't a sign you're failing. It's the sound of success.
The authors have a great name for this. They call them desirable difficulties. These are things like spacing out your study sessions, mixing up different subjects, or forcing yourself to recall an answer instead of just looking it up. Sure, they make things feel harder in the moment, but they are exactly what pays off with huge dividends for your memory down the road.
And that brings us to a fantastic quote from the book that really just wraps this all up perfectly. Learning that's easy is like writing in sand, here today and gone tomorrow. It's those effortful, desirable difficulties that actually carve what you know into stone. So the next time you're studying it and it feels tough, don't back down. Don't get discouraged. Lean into that feeling, because that struggle, that is the feeling of you finally making it stick.